What's up, everybody? It is your boy, Bill Shocker, the 96 Head Joe here, with a quick transactions video here for you guys, bringing for the Sunset Showdown Draft League. I recently have decided to make some transactions. You guys can see we're going to go ahead and get ready to prep for week 2, but I felt like I should make a transactions video because if it was only 1 or 2, maybe 3 transactions, I would have probably discussed it in video along with the team builder, but since we used up all 5 of our transactions, I definitely need to excuse me, really needed to let you guys know about some things. So, if you guys are hyped for the transaction video, or if not, go ahead and just leave your like down below. Comment down below what you think of the transactions we got, and just yeah, let's go ahead and just get into this. So, when it came to my transactions, I had to rethink it because looking at the majority of this, I really don't want to be bringing Scorch. I really didn't want to bring Rhydon. Gramble's not the strongest fairy, and Sableye, as much as it's a really good annoying mon, it's not really that good. And then it came to the one mon I'm a little disappointed I'm dropping. That's Spectreer. So let's go into the talk real quick. So let's quickly discuss. I'm going to discuss some of the mons that just weren't important enough. So we have Sableye here, which did come to our week 1 game, but didn't get to do anything. It was just going to be for support. I do like the support options Sableye is, but overall, I just didn't think it was the dark type we needed, especially when it's weak to Ghost. So I really felt like there was no reason to keep Sableye around. So sorry, Esmeralda, you will be gone. And I'm a little hurt to do this to myself a little bit. It's Gramble. Gramble was on my very first championship team actually, and it was Gen 2 and it was actually Generation 2 and below league and stuff. And Gramble was on that championship team, and I feel a little bad having to drop it, but it's just one fairy type that's just relatively slow. If it had like maybe at least base 55 or 60 speed, it would have been a little more manageable, but Gramble, in my opinion, is still decently good with quick feet and intimidate support, but I just felt like it wasn't going to be as good of a fairy as I really wanted it. Up next, we have Scorch, and Scorch, I'm a little sad. I've been wanting to try Scorch for a little bit, but I felt like for the team, Scorch just wasn't really going to do much for us, and I saw some still really good, decently better fire types that were still left on the board, so I ultimately went with that overall. And sorry I yawned so much. As you can see, though, it is 8:40 in the morning for me. I am tired. So, I'm a little upset to drop Scorch because it's been one of the only mons I've only used in replacement teams instead of actually using. And I do eventually want to use this thing. Now, this one also hurt because I was actually really excited to use Lumpy again, my Rhydon from APA Season 4, but I think it was Season 4. Yes, it was. Season 4, and you know, I was really going to look forward, but there were still some really good ground types left out there that I really wanted, and some that I was actually kind of surprised that were still out there. But I ultimately do think that Rhydon can still be good. I do see a lot of great potential with Rhydon, so definitely in the future would love to try Rhydon. Now, the main mon that I think a lot of you had a question about us dropping was Spectreer. Now, I don't hate Spectreer, and I don't think this mon is terrible. The one thing that cost this team was speed and a premier special attacker. But the problem I saw with Spectreer was that I felt like there were going to be so many matchups, and we just didn't have the right support for Spectreer. Like Sableye being our dark type was weak to Ghost, and Ghost is really good, and it's also neutral to dark. We didn't really have that much answers for dark types. I mean, yeah, I got Scorch, but Scorch doesn't want to take a switch into a dark type move. Gramble doesn't really want to take special dark hit moves, especially since they'll do a decent damage if I'm not so honest. Damn, I'm yawning. So there were just a lot of potential problems with the team that could have not. If I had better dark types or at least a normal type or something like that, I could have better fairy. I would have been more than willing to probably keep Spectre around. But I think in the long run, this was probably the better thing to do was to drop it. So let's go over the changes we did make to the team. So I dropped Spectre for Crocodile. I was actually a little surprised Crocodile stayed on the board for so long. But I went with Crocodile because I have been really wanting to try Crocodile, but I either get a better ground type and a better dark type. or it gets sniped from me. And I have been really wanting to try Crocodile. What's really, really good about Crocodile is that of all the 5 mons we dropped, we replaced our Dark type, we replaced our ground type, but also replaced the one Stealth Rocker we dropped, and we picked up the Stealth Rocker and Crocodile, which can be worked as an Impish Intimidate set. It's also a really decently good Assault Vest user, it's a really good Choice Band user, and is also a fantastically good Choice Scarf user as well. It has actually relatively 2 fantastic abilities in Moxie and Intimidate, so I got my Intimidator, which was a little back, and I also got a really offensive Pokemon as well. And your point, it's stupid. If it raises to 12 stages, which basically means it raises to max attack, so I don't get it. But nonetheless, I think Crook is going to be really good. I mean, Moxie and Intimidate is really, really good. Intimidate is really, really good if I want to nuke certain things. Moxie's really good if I want to be just a pure offensive Crook. So, and there's also a lot of good unique moves for Crocodile as well. So, I'm really excited to try out Crocodile and have some fun with it. I'm sorry, I had to. I don't care. He's back, baby. Fire Darm is back. Darmanitan over Centiskorch. I definitely think in the long run, this was the better pickup. Yes, I will take at least 25% on rocks, but at least I'm not taking 50% of rocks. It just overall, this is just a fantastic Pokemon. Excuse me. It's just a fantastic Pokemon. I love this thing so much. It was on my WC Championship team, obviously, so I have a lot of sentiment to this Pokemon. I I just think this is a fantastic fire type. It's probably one of my favorites to use. So really excited to give Darm another go around and just to play with him. He's just super fun. And I dropped this one for Centiskorch. Now let's get into some of the interesting picks. So I dropped Rhydon and picked up Aurora, aka my Auroris. I know, not the much clever nickname. But why I picked up Auroras, as you're going to see with my next one, I also picked up Auroras because I really needed to get some special attackers. Um, I also just really needed something that was a bit bulky, and I think the combination of Rock Ice is really good. Yes, there is a big weakness to fighting on my team, but I do have some resist in the forms of Roserade. I do have some resist in the form of Gallade. Celesteela doesn't really like taking the fighting type hits, but can help against the fighting types, and we do have Thundurus. So I do have options against fighting types, and as you're going to see with one of my fairy type, even though it's also weak to fighting, it's still a decent good answer as well. But overall, I think Auroras was a really fantastic, really, excuse me, good pick right here. I ultimately think Auroras can put in a lot of good utility. I've actually been seeing my buddy Zach, aka the Weather Gamer, actually use this Pokemon as well, and he's actually enjoyed it and has some really good success with it. It's also a decent Aurora Veil setter if it can get under the situation as well. Refrigerate is really, really good for moves like Tri Attack and Hyper Voice. Like Hyper Voice to go through Sub with Refrigerate is really, really good. It also gives us the main thing I was looking for in this Pokemon, which was Snow Warning. Now, I would have gone Vanillix, but the Vanillix would have cost too much points, and this is almost kind of like budget Vanillix in a way, except it gets a rock typing. And of course, if I'm grabbing this thing, I'm grabbing a Slush Rush user, but also a Water Absorb user, which is also really good as well. But I grabbed Upside Down Mischievous, so yes. I don't know any of the creative nicknames for Arctivish, this is just what I think, so. The reason why I went with Arctivish here, though, Water Icing, so a secondary water type, which is not that terrible. I've got Volt Absorb, I got Ground type. I don't have too much of an electric weakness on my team. It's a bit of a problem, but nonetheless. I would have grabbed Arctozolt, but then I looked and someone already had Arctozolt, so that was misspelled. Arctozolt's the more offensive one of the two. It has base 100 attack and base 90 special attack. And Arctivish is more of the bulky one with the 100 in defense and the 90 in Spadef. But Arctivish can still really be good. It's a really fantastic mixed attacker as well. It's also a really, really good Pokemon. If you guys have not seen Kyle A use this thing just straight up picked up 6 kills with a weakness policy set. Like, my god! How he pulled that off was amazing, but it still gets access to Vicious Rend, which is really, really good, but it also gets access to Freeze Dry, which is really, really cool. So I do plan on making this thing roughly a mixed Dracovish, an offensive Dracovish, or I should say Arctovish, but I'm excited. I've been wanting to try these things out on the Hail team, and I have a tiny Hail team right here, so looking forward to trying out Arctovish and seeing how well he does. It's also good having a Water Absorb Pokemon that can beat things like Gastrodon, beat things like the Seismitoad as well, because then it's really kind of hinders those Pokemon, even including Jellicent too, that really hinders them from trying to stop me from clicking vicious runs and just being spammable in Hail, which is really, really cool. And last but not least, we have Pello, the Wigglytuff. And this was originally Revan's Pokemon. But I took it now. Honestly, there's not a lot to say about Wigglytuff. It's a fairy type, which we needed, but it also gave us a normal type, which we originally didn't have. So we did pick up. The only type we did pick up here was Bug and Ghost, I believe, was the only type we didn't pick up. But I don't think Bug and Ghost isn't naturally not that much of a hindrance, but it's something to maybe have to. Excuse me, keep it looking bad. But the main thing I drafted this for, as the only probably best fairy I had, was for Frisk. There's also the option of potential competitive, which is also not that bad. But ultimately, I went with something that was a budget fairy, and I think for 2 points was worth it, and plus was enough to give me the mons I needed as well. Because I thought I was originally going to have enough for 4 mons, but I was able to actually have enough for 5. So that basically was able to probably the 5 for 5. But yeah, I think I dragged this video out a little longer than I wanted to, but that's the transactions for our Sunset Showdown. I'm going to go ahead and start prepping up here for week 2, where we go against the Rhyme City Rhydons and Coach Griffin. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.